each and every day. Love and live your way. Do your very best. Learn and lead today. Be the best you can. It's your life. Take a stand, so live your best life. Live your best life. Come on and live your best life with Dr. Julia Royston. Welcome to Live Your Best Life. I'm Dr. Julia Royston. So glad you're here. For I've come that you might have life and have that life more abundantly to the full and overflowing. And that abundant life God intended for you to have, that's what we're going to be talking about in various stages and with various people. My intent for the Live Your Best Life broadcast is always to entertain, inform, and empower you to live your best life. And today I am so excited to have with me Miss Roz Jones. And I want her to first off introduce herself, who she is, what she does.
My name again is Roz Jones. For those of you who are not familiar with me, I am the CEO and owner of Jacksonville's Best Caregivers, where we provide 4 levels of specialized care to your loved one's sitter, homemaker companion, home health aide, and certified nursing assistants. When you can't do it all, you give us a call.
Perfect. So she's got information for you in a general way, and then for those special caregivers, which I know is definitely a big need in a lot of people in a lot of our lives. So let's just start first off with the healthcare situation, period. One of the biggest things, of course, it's expensive. Mm-hmm. And your insurance and what your insurance was a long time ago and what your insurance is now and what the cost and the need and what your policy is may not always agree. So what I want to, first off, for you to give us like just a couple tips on really sorting that out. Where should people go? Because the population is getting older. I'm in my 50s. And so my mother is getting ready to turn 80. So that's a real place for me, what that really looks like. Because she's been fine all this time, but I got to be ready. So what are a couple tips that people really should do at the beginning stages of this? At the beginning, everybody's healthy, but then right. All of a sudden, we don't know when the health could turn or take a turn for the worse.
And I'm glad you brought that up first, that your health could change. All of us are healthy now, reasonably healthy. Within whatever scope, but our life could change between Sunday to Sunday.
Exactly.
It can change. Car accident, heart attack,
right? Whatever,
stroke, whatever can happen. Before that happens, you should have the conversation about if, as we are growing older, we have 10,000 people daily that are hitting the Medicare rolls. And then in 2020, we have 117 million people who will need care. Is that...
Say that again. Wait a minute. Say that one more time. The 10,000 a day that are hitting the Medicare rolls, is that what you said?
10,000 baby boomers every day are hitting the Medicare rolls. And now what's happening is because of that aging population is now hitting that peak. So now it's so many people hitting the rolls. Now we're in a healthcare crisis starting in 2020. For the next 5 to 10 years, 117 million people will need care. Only 45 million family members are available for less than 8 hours a week to take care of their loved one.
Okay, so we have almost a 60 million people gap of people who are able to take care of them and people who will be alone. So there could be possibly 60 million people that are going to have some type of care either in their own home or in a facility.
That's it.
Wow. So that's the reason why the facilities are growing, but some of them are very luxurious housing. Mm-hmm. If you don't have the money for that, what does that look like? And what does that? So do you suggest for those families for even having the conversation? We haven't even got to the paperwork. We haven't even got to where we're going to live, how we're going to be taken care of. but having the conversation. So what you trying to say? I'm on that. You know, that's a real place, and I know I laugh, but that is so, you know, that age group. What you mean? I ain't dead. I'm still alive. You know, so how do you even start to have that conversation? I mean, it's a real place.
And you know what? You need to have the small conversations, not big.
Okay.
Small. And particularly during the holidays, I tell people, take advantage of the holidays when you go home to visit. Hey, Ma, you know, things are, you know, you're getting older and so am I. If something happens, where's your information? How can I get to it? That's a small conversation. How can I get to your medical insurance? If something would happen, where's your life insurance or your burial insurance? Start there first. Then, as you know, maybe in the next holiday, look, if something would happen to you, I have no authority to pay your bills.
Yes.
To keep up your house. Now, if you say no, this is what happens when you say no.
Yes.
You can get evicted from your apartment. Your house can go in foreclosure. Your insurance, life insurance can get canceled. Auto insurance can get canceled. Car can be repoed. And I always tell people now, if your life insurance gets canceled, can you get it back? Yeah. But because you have a pre-existing condition and you let the insurance lapse, now the life insurance is going to be even higher.
My Lord.
Than if you would have gone on and said, I'm going to give you authority. And the power of attorney is just for if I temporarily cannot do some things for myself. You can always change it, but it's only if you are in an incapacitated state for whatever reason, short-term or long-term, and I want these wishes to be carried out according to what I have written down.
Exactly.
And I want people to understand that they think, well, if I put it on there, it's permanent. It's not permanent. It's temporary. It's temporary.
Well, that's good to know. So having those small conversations first, leading up to it, and then, you know, I hate to say this, but sometimes those funerals bring out those conversations. Or having to a GoFundMe page, or we got to pass the hat because Uncle so-and-so didn't have this and Big Mama didn't do that, and that happened and that happened. Then that's another window. It's sad to say, but that's another window for that hard conversation. So having those hard conversations, you got to do that. If you don't do it now, you regret it later. So now we've got to sit down with our options. Hopefully you've had the conversation. You know, it's in the right-hand drawer, in her chest of drawers. It's that box in the closet and all that sort of thing. So what do you suggest for a couple of things before we go to break? What do you suggest for the actual family members? So for this scenario, I don't live near my mother. I'm 4 hours away. If she falls, she could lay there for hours. Something could happen and she can't call me. She can't dial the phone. What are a couple of things that you suggest for the family member that's far away?
For those family members that are far away, these are some of the things that you could implement. If your parents are up to it, they have those alert necklaces and bracelets. So, you know, I've fallen and I can't get up. You see the commercials all the time. The medical alert, you know, it'll have all their medical information in there to contact and rescue. You know, it's fall sensitive. So if they fall, they know automatically 911 will call and say, are you okay? If they don't get a call, then they know to send rescue out.
Right.
That's one way. The other way is similar to like a baby monitor, but it's the security cameras. You know, you can have a security camera, you know, inside the home and outside the home. So if you're a long distance, if anybody's trying to do anything outside, you can see it.
Right.
If anything happens on the inside, you can see it.
So like those Ring where you can, you know, see that somebody drove up or dropped off a package. Okay. So that really helps.
So, you know, those are some inintrusive ways, and your loved ones still can be independent. Now, if you want to make sure that they are eating and keeping themselves clean, you could have someone like my company come in maybe 3 days a week for 3 to 4 hours a day to make sure that they bathe, take their medicine, that their food and refrigerator is clean, because a lot of times elderly people will leave food in there for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it starts to turn into penicillin.
Right.
You don't want them eating that nasty food.
No.
And so you want to make sure that before they get to the stage where they really can't remember, you want to introduce a caregiver into their life while they still can make some decisions.
Right, right.
You know, so those are the type of things. And also, to the last thing is I want to say real quickly is make sure on the bank accounts that at the time of death, you all have someone on the beneficiary card. If you don't do anything else today after this, go to the bank and make sure that at the time of death, that someone can get that money, because once the funeral home contacts the Social Security office, they're going to do a nice sweep and everything going to start shutting down. And what's going to shut down? Once they notify Social Security is going to notify the bank, and the bank is going to say, okay, this person is dead. Everything's on lock.
Right.
So
and then your money, you can't get to your money. And then then it goes to probate.
Yes. And the most crucial thing when someone dies is money and the life insurance. And so if you can get that money at the time of death, I don't care if it's $500 or $1,000, you can put that towards the funeral until you get the life insurance. And also too, every year, check on your life insurance, because let me tell you what's happening. These old mom and pop life insurance companies are selling to the big companies. You don't know if your benefits are the same.
Wow. Okay, so the first thing is we have to have a conversation. That is number one. We have to have a conversation. And then we also have to have smaller conversations. We got to know where our paperwork is. We have to know what our benefits are. And then one other thing that a family member of mine, they lived alone, but their children lived outside of the community in the city, and the child never came to meet the neighbors, the landlord, the neighbors. So when the family member died, everything he just basically the landlord just threw the stuff out in the street, and they had it was just a mess. And so I think sometimes people don't understand the importance of having relationships with neighbors, and you can have that life alert, but also just small things of the neighbors can check on you. That's one thing. I do have relationships with my mother's neighbors. Exactly. On either side of them, and so they check on her if they don't see her, and so we have it's all about relationships, especially as our parents get older. Now, I'm not that far from my mother. I can get to her in 10 to 15, 20 minutes because I'm in the area. But if you're 4 or 5 hours away, I mean, your loved one could literally lay there for the longest time and, just really be incapacitated. It can be a horrible situation, a horrible situation.
And they want to live, it's called aging in place. That's the term that they use now. And they want to stay at home as long as possible. And then they say, okay, in order to do that, I want to encourage you to stay home as long as possible. But I need for you to understand that we got to put some things in place to make sure that you can stay home and safe.
Right.
For your peace of mind and my peace of mind.
Right. Well, we're going to take a break right here. And when we come back, I want to talk about the caregiver side, how we can protect ourselves as the caregiver. What do we need to do? We found out about the patient, my mama, big mama, granny, all them. But what do I need to do to protect myself? We'll be right back.
I know it's been hard. I know it's been rough. The days were long and the nights were tough. But in this life, you'll win, you'll lose. Choose in spite of all the pain to begin again. Choose in spite of all the pain to begin again. Mistakes you made, Lord knows you paid, but that was then. Today's a brand new day, because in this life you'll win and sometimes you'll lose. Yeah, 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 yeah. So choose in spite of all the pain to begin again. Choose in spite of all the pain to begin again. Begin again. Choose to fight, don't quit, keep on, don't give in. Begin again. Start all over again. Choose in spite of all the pain, to begin again. Begin again. You can do it. Pick yourself up, brush yourself off. Choose to fight, don't quit, keep on, don't give in. God is on your side every time. So choose today. He's got the way out. You can make it, you can take it. With God's help, you can. He won't leave you, He won't forsake you. He'll always be there for you. Put one foot in front of the other, my sister and my brother. God'll do it, He'll fix it. Choose. It's your choice. It's your choice. Oh yeah, you can do it. Yes you can. Yes you can. Yes you can. Choose in spite of all the pain to begin again.
We're back. I'm Dr. Julia Royston, and this is Live Your Best Life. And I am so glad to still have as my guest Ms. Roz Jones and the Jacksonville caregivers. And we're so excited for all the information she's been giving to us. And we're going to get her contact information again before we close so that you can make sure that keep up with her information and get in her group. But as we stated before the break, we need to talk about the caregiver side. We need to make sure we know where all the information is and all the bills and get our names on the roll. But as a caregiver, because I've known people who said, well, wait a minute, what happened to them? Because they were the one that were taken care of and they died or they got sick or they got incapacitated. And so what happened with them? So I realized that as a caregiver, we need some boundaries, we need some help, we need some goals, we need something to help us make sure that we don't go down with the ship, that we are able to put some boundaries up so that we can still live our best life as well as helping our family member or loved one live their best life. So do you have 2 or 3 tips to really kind of help us as we move through that process for the caregiver?
One thing is, and you already kind of hit the nail on the head, is you have to set boundaries. When you are having this discussion and your mother or father or whoever is asking you to be a caregiver, you have to say what you can and you can't do. You know, I work from 8 to 5. I can only give you once a week, 4 hours out of my week.
Right.
And so to supplement that, we may have to get care in. Now, also too, if they ask you to be the caregiver and you don't want to do it, you need to say no. Please don't take it on, and in your spirit and in your heart that you cannot do it. I would rather for you to say no and put someone in a facility or in what they're doing now is called a co-share, to where people are co-sharing living responsibilities, for the elderly, either in a facility or in a co-share where they will be taken care of.
What does a co-share look like? Because I know what assisted living look like. But what does co-share is like? We're like roommates?
Yes, that's what it is. Exactly. It's an assisted living facility where there are roommates. And so they share the bills, and they, and they take care of one another. If you go to the doctor, I'll go with you. Or, if something happens, I can contact your family. So it's, it's almost like, living in a college dorm.
Okay, gotcha.
Type situation. But each person has their own room, and they have a common area, the living room and dining room.
Okay.
Or a common bathroom, or they each have their own bathroom. And that's it.
But the person needs to be independent. It's not like they're your caregiver. They're just there as roommates. So everybody's independent. But there's somebody there. So you're not alone. Because I'm back to the original conversation we had about these 117 million people. And there's only 45 million that basically have a family member or somebody who could possibly be responsible for them. So we have nearly 60 plus million people that could be possibly alone. So this co-sharing or cohabitation or roommate situation may have to really grow and be.
And it is growing. And the whole thing is, and that's why I'm saying as a caregiver, recognize if you can. If you can't, there are options.
Right.
Let your loved one know that there are options. And particularly if you are a caregiver who's an only child, that's a lot of responsibility.
Right.
That's a lot. And if you know in your heart, and you know what, don't allow that guilt. You know how our mothers put that guilt on us. Well, if your daddy was still living, I wouldn't be going to the nursing home.
Right, exactly. Yeah. You're the child. I had you to take care of me.
That's right. I took care of you. And I plowed the field and picked cotton, with you on my back.
Yeah. Well, I think it would be, I think it's worse for each of you if you're not willing to face the fact.
Right. And so, if you allow that guilt to happen, it will turn into bitterness.
Yeah.
And when you're taking care of someone and they feel that bitterness, I'm angry, their life is cut short.
Yes.
They will will themselves to death because they know that you're doing this out of spite, out of anger, out of, because you guilted me into this. And so the caring is not caring anymore. It's a job.
Yes. And everybody doesn't have that. Everybody doesn't have that ability to, because I know I have clients who have basically, they shut down their whole life and moved in to take care of their family member. They have the heart for it. They have the persistence for it. They have the drive. They have the ability to do it. And they're like, I could. I'm not married. I'm single. I just said, all right, I put all my bills and all my life on hold, and I just moved in to do it. But everybody is not there. So the caregiver, as well as the one being cared for, needs to understand that we've got to face some hard facts.
There are limitations and boundaries. And if you are giving the care, if you're the one who's actually taking care of the person, understand your emotions. Understand you'll have anxiety, depression. You'll be going through a mourning period because this person is not the person you thought that they were going to be.
Yes.
So now you are grieving internally because, you know, my mother's in a bed and I got to take care of her 24 hours.
Right.
When a person gets to the point where you can't take care of them, it's okay to put them in a nursing home. That's called skilled care. When they need 24-hour care and you can't get out of the house, that's when you need to transition them. You still go, your caregiving doesn't stop. You still go to the nursing home and check on them 2 or 3 times a week.
Sure.
And you need to do that.
Yes.
Because if they know they don't have an advocate, things can happen. Nothing is perfect.
No.
And know that there's different types and different levels of facility depending on what you can afford. But the whole thing is I want the caregiver to understand, set boundaries, set limits, take care of yourself when you wake up first. Don't think about taking care of nobody. When you get up in the morning, you do your meditation, you thank God, you read your Bible, you have your time to yourself and with the Lord. You do that first. Then you move on to everybody else.
Yes.
A lot of times we forget, we roll out of bed and we pick up this phone. No. Lord, I just, help guide me through this day. You have to understand that. You got to. And then you have to implement strategies and tips and things to help you keep your peace of mind.
Right.
Set a schedule for yourself and the person you take care of. If you can't fulfill all of those needs, ask for help.
Yes.
Don't try to be Superwoman, Superman, and Jesus all rolled up into one. You can't do it.
No. So that's where we come back to you for help. That's where we come back to you for assistance. Because, sometimes we're not able. I mean, as I'm getting older, I'm in my middle 50s, 56, and running towards 60. And then my mother's getting older. Therefore, I do need to know how to get help, the help that I need, because I don't, and knowing the research and knowing the questions we should ask and knowing who to ask for and, I didn't know about that, or I didn't think about that, and when we're doing our research. So with all that said and done, I need for you to tell us, Ms. Roz Jones, how we can get in contact with you, how we can stay connected to you on social media, where we need to go so that we can get the help that we need, the information, and then there's a membership group, a safe place for caregivers so that we can ask those questions, so that we can give the information we find out and make sure that it's true or not, and make sure it can be verified. Please do. And also, too, as I get ready to give you my contact information, realize that Medicare only gives you up to 12, maybe 20 hours a week max of home health care. Max. Wow. Don't think it's 24 hours a day. It's not. Give us your information so we can keep in touch with you. Yes, ma'am. The contact information, my personal page is Roz Jones. My business page, which is open to everybody, which is Jacksonville's Best Caregivers. My private group is the Caregiver Cafe. And then also too on LinkedIn, if you want to get in contact with me, is Rosalind Marshall Jones. So those are the ways you can get in contact with me. I can help you if you're a beginning caregiver or a current caregiver. Give your email address one more time. Give my email. Yeah, my email address for those that are not on social media. Right, Lady Rosalind, Lady Lady, of course, ROSALIND Jones @gmail.com. Perfect. We got a lot of questions, and we'll have you back to answer even more of our questions as we continue to move into 2020, the new decade and the new time. So I'm Dr. Julia Royston. Thank you so much, Ms. Roz Jones, for being here today, tomorrow, and always, helping us to live our best life.
Live each and every day, love and live your way. Do your very best, learn and lead today. Be the best you can, it's your life. Take a stand, so live your best life. Live your best life. Come on and live your best life.
Dr. Julia Royston.